I'd like to take a little bit of time to address an issue that we are starting to face here at Paris Cooperative High School more and more, and that is the fact that students are using social media, mainly a social networking site like Facebook, to bully fellow students. Might be posting something that is simple as a untruth about a fellow student, or it might be as explicit as they're gonna do something to a fellow student to physically harm them. And of course, these incidences in school and in society are not new, but the fact that social media allows this kind of contact to take place immediately and with regularity and almost anonymously and not to face, that it has become easier. Now, I don't want to impugn the fact that students are using social media. I don't want to say that no student should be using Facebook. In fact, the connections students are making using Facebook with one another, with family, with fellow students across the country, some of that can be very positive, and they're sharing a lot of positive things. So the answer to ending bullying or misuse of social media is not to ban it. I would never go on record as saying that I think all students should be banned from using Facebook or from having a cell phone in school. What we need to do is talk about the behaviors that are unacceptable, that students are using these tools like this cell phone or whether it's their Facebook account to wreak havoc on their fellow students or people outside of school. You know, for example, we have students that are using Facebook to just to say little things about their friends or acquaintances that aren't true, that get passed from student to student, and before too long you have hurt feelings. It might be a case where students are using their cell phone to send a message about so-and-so said this about so-and-so. And before you know it, it has gotten to the point where that's on 20 phones, or it's been forwarded to 50 phones, and you got 2 or 3 students that are really upset. Now, some people would say, well, just get rid of the cell phone and you won't have that problem. Now, we continue to have those problems even when cell phones aren't involved, whether that's a note passed from one student to another on a piece of paper using a pen or a pencil, and we don't ban paper and pens and pencils in school. So what we have to do is concentrate on the behavior. We need to let students know that only socially acceptable use of social media and cell phones is acceptable. Because if we go to ban the tools that students are using and we adults are using to connect with the world and to learn, we certainly aren't preparing them for the real world after school. We must model as adults the correct way to use a cell phone, the correct way to use social media, whether that be a Facebook account or whether that be Twitter. We as the adults must give the expectations, and we must also let the students know when they have violated those. You know, we had in the past banned the possession of a cell phone in school. This past year, our board allowed us to change the policy that lets students carry them in school and use them when a teacher allowed them to in class. We've had a little bit less in the terms of discipline issues with cell phones because of the change in policy. But I also know that we've probably had an increase in the number of issues in the school where students have texted something in school that they shouldn't have and caused problems. Now, do we go back to banning the phone? I don't believe so. What we need to do is spend more time with our students as teachers and as parents, myself included, teaching our students the correct way to use these tools to connect with one another, to give each other information, and to learn. They're wonderful tools. But they can also be tools of destruction, and we must make sure that the students understand that those types of behaviors are unacceptable. Parents, make sure your students understand that there are consequences for using their cell phone in the wrong way. Make sure that they understand that Facebook, once you put it on Facebook, it is there forever. Even if it happens to be erased or deleted, somebody somewhere might have kept a copy of it, and that might be taken to the authorities, which we've had happen here in numerous times. So the answer is not banning the use of Facebook at home, and not saying that your student cannot have access to that. The answer is not banning cell phones in school. The issue is the behavior, and it is the school's responsibility to make sure that students are using these in the best way that they can. It is the parents' responsibility, I'm a parent also, and I may need to make sure I'm doing this myself, to make sure that we are monitoring the use of cell phones at home, at school, and making sure our children understand there are consequences for saying and doing things that they shouldn't do anyway using these media. Now the bottom line is that progress has brought these tools to us. Progress has always brought us new technologies, and there has always been a transition period where there needs to be some very important education take place on how to use those tools. And we're at that point. And so I'm asking teachers to monitor and making sure that students are not using these devices against the policy. I'm asking parents to do everything they can to look at the use and model correct use of these tools for their children. And I plan to do the same. Together, we can make sure that students have access to social media that they need. They have access to the tools of learning that are 21st century, and we can make Paris Cooperative High School's social media and cell phone policies work so students have the greatest opportunities to learn. I would welcome your comments. Feel free to call me, 466-1175. You can also contact me here at school via Twitter, and you can contact me via email that you can find on our website. Look forward to hearing from you. Maybe this could be a topic of one of our upcoming parent meetings. Again, thank you.